only allowed Houston to score 13 points, and that feels like really where the game was won.
Yeah, I think so. I think, those guys have two closers in Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, but at the same time, their defensive intensity, the physicality they brought to the game, they helped them get that lead in the second quarter, and you could just tell the youth and not having too much of experience with the Houston Rockets showed a little bit, and also guys not making shots, but Golden State just getting out in transition, Steph being Steph, and those guys like Draymond making the right reads in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a lapse or a quarter like that, right? You can't have 13 points and not show up and expect to win the game, So when you score that low, you got to find ways at least hold them defensively to score a little bit better. But you put yourself in that type of hole, you dig yourself out. But eventually, especially against a team like that with Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, they're not going to let you win that type of game. They did a good job of fighting back. They found something with a two-big lineup, Steven Adams, Sengun, and even Jabari Smith. They had some good, energy. Then they made the subs and changes. I think they'll go back to that. But, ultimately they kind of lost their juice. They lost their gas. They got, very tired. They exerted too much energy coming back. And if you don't have those 13 points, you won't have to do that. But there's a lot of positive takeaways if I'm Houston, if I'm looking at the stat sheet in this game.
Yeah, and let's start with the Golden State Warriors in that sense, because as both teams were trying to figure out, okay, where do they have the advantage? It was like, Steph Curry. There was a stretch where he hit 11 out of 12 shots. Danny, when I look at what Steph Curry did in that time period, the offense he provided, the shots that he was hitting, is like, well, what do you do with that?
They could have had better contests, but yes, he made some shots that Steph was going to step. He does what Steph does. You got to expect that and prepare for that. He's going to make shots. You can't hang your head. You got to go down the other end, find ways to make him work on defense, find ways to score. But Steph played well. That's not what hurt them. Houston's offense is what hurt them. They didn't score. They didn't shoot well. They also turned the ball over, and they missed free throws. So like I said, there's a lot of positives. They can look at the stat sheets like we can do better in this area. We can do better in that area. Jalen Green could have, been more aggressive in terms of actually picking and choosing the right moments. Fred didn't shoot well. And you said you only lost by 10. You missed 8 free throws, and you had 16 turnovers. Those two areas alone could help you win the game.
Yeah, Houston, a season low in points, just 85 points. Udoka, a finalist for Coach of the Year. He's at the podium now. Let's hear what he has to say.
What's the first question?
Expect to deploy Steven as much as you did tonight, and do you now expect to deploy him that much to the rest of the series?
Yeah, I mean, you want to use him. You got these days in between. He played, only played 20, and we planned on using him in the 20 to 25 range. So yes, we did.
Piggybacking off of that, how important was Steven tonight, just with that concept of really doing the dirty work?
Yeah, he's big. I think we dominated the glass, we dominated some areas, but had a poor offensive showing in general, like I said. So he did what he does. Got the extra possession. We had some wide open naked threes that we missed off those kickouts and opportunities on layups on the second chance points. And so, yeah, we shot 39%, and obviously he was up a bright spot there, doing what he usually does.
Hey, man, why do you think Jalen Green struggled so, and what might you need from him kind of moving forward with the rest of the series offensively?
I mean, they went after him some, but, played in the crowd a little bit too much, and it's not like I said, it's not really the turnovers as much as, he only had one, but those shots in the crowd where you got to find your outlets. And so this is a team that's loading up. When he has his isolations on, whether it's up top or getting to the lane, they're packing the paint, and you got to find your outlets. That's going to be a big key throughout the series.
Coach, there was a big gap in the rebounding department, but in terms of overall pace, how can you try and find the gaps and advantages in the open floor? You
said overall pace?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get some stops and get out and run. I think, they hit some timely shots, the shot clock shots late in the side out of bounds there, and they just felt like they hit 2 or 3 of those where we regarded well enough. And, our mantra all year has been turn defense to offense, and when we do get those opportunities, we got to cash in on them. It felt like we missed quite a few layups out in the open court, or we're a little sloppy there, had some turnovers as well when we had the numbers advantage.
With Jabari being one of the only few people that had any type of offensive flow tonight and his ability to shoot over, anybody on the court, is there any thought of him possibly moving into the starting lineup next game, or is it too early to kind of tell on that? I mean, it was some guys did struggle offensively. You're not going to overreact to one game, but if guys do play better, we have a chance there. A 10-point loss, and like I said, holding somebody in 95, it was an offensively poor showing. The defense was good enough, but not going to overreact to that game. Like I said, it's some of the guys' first time, and we had our chances.
Coach, when Steph is hitting those type of shots that he was hitting tonight, how much does that change your defensive approach?
I mean, we guarded some things well. I think he hit obviously some end of shot clock shots that we guarded decent, but we did have some slippage in our connectivity to him. And so giving them that space, especially late in the shot clock, he dips you under the three-point line, gets those off. We got to know shot clock game time score situation and lock in and make him a driver there. So, yeah, he hit some tough ones. He does that at times, but, he got loose and felt like he hit some big shots to stem the tide for them.
When y'all were able to cut into the lead in the third quarter and early in the fourth, what did you feel like was the source of that? And is that something that you feel like y'all could tap into maybe throughout the entirety of the game?
Yeah, we got stops and ran and got offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities. And so, not turning the ball over, getting quality shots is always a good formula. And when we didn't do it, they got out and ran, especially in the first half, and got better in the second and got more quality looks. But even with that being said, we didn't shoot it particularly well. Obviously, you look at Fred, Jalen, upend, didn't have their usual night shooting and still had our chance. So said to the group, guarded well enough, got to have better offensive showing, get our spacing down and take care of the ball.
On offense, were you getting the matchups that you wanted for the most part, or was it a matter of not getting some of them?
No, we got some decent ones. Didn't break them down as much as we wanted to. Like I said, if you draw and they pack the paint the way they do and kind of are going to make certain guys prove it, you just got to trust your teammates, get off the ball. And I think we had too many of those turnovers playing in the crowd. So they're going to load up and, help the poorer defenders. And we got to take advantage of that with the easy play.
Can you talk about Alpy tonight and what he gave you? How he kind of kept you guys in it the whole game?
Yeah, he was a bright spot offensively for sure from the get-go. Got into the paint, made plays. Other than a few turnovers in the crowd, was really solid there. And so he had a great night. Need some others to kind of join the party there, and I think guys will.
It seemed like hunting Steph was a little bit of the game plan at times, depending on certain guys being on the floor. Is that something you look to go back to next game, or do you feel like it wasn't executed properly tonight?
No, it's worked well for us for sure. And like I said, we had the advantage there. You just have to make the right read because they're going to load up. They're going to show, elbows in boxes and show a crowd behind them. And if they're daring guys to shoot, you just have to make the right play. And whether you get by him and they collapse the paint or the simple advance pass, which is there quite a bit, and the guy's sitting at the nail, you have to make the right read.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And there's something that Ime Udoka said that kind of sums up the whole game, right? Mm-hmm. It's the 16 fast break points. It's the 17 turnovers. It's the 25 points given up off of those turnovers. When you look at the score, you're like, yeah, if you don't turn it over that many times, then you don't have 85. Like, yeah, if you don't give them easy buckets, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is it really that simple when we look back on the game and the biggest plays?
No, it's not really that simple. One thing I can say is simple is they didn't play well.
Making and being smarter with making those plays and showing some maturity, getting to the paint, taking your time, jump stopping on 2 feet, and then finishing a layup or finding an open guy and not jumping in the air and making jump pass turnovers.
Now, if we also look deep inside of the box score, we see where Houston had a distinct advantage, and that's when they went to the jumbo lineup. You look at Steven Adams off the bench, 12 rebounds, 6 points in just 20 minutes, but his impact felt even bigger than that. Yeah. You look at the second chance points, plus 10, points in the paint, plus 20. You go, Houston has a distinct advantage in the front court with those guys.
Yeah, I think with Steven Adams coming in, you got Sagoon down there. They out-rebounded them by 16. I mean, Golden State starts Draymond Green at the 5, and then they put Jimmy Butler at the 4. So they already know they're in a disadvantage. But those guys do a great job of their whole team, and their guards going to help rebound. And those guys are great position situations. So, yeah, I think they got to do a better job of that. But, yes, Houston has an advantage in that aspect, but I don't think that helps them on the offense.
They got to maximize it. They got to maximize it and take advantage of it. You look at the stat sheet, you see a team that out-rebounded by 16 and had 11 more shots. You would think they should win the game. But they didn't. They missed a lot of bunnies. They missed a lot of free throws.
Yes, 7th seed, just 4 wins separated the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. So obviously this is going to be a good series with the 7th seed now up 1-0.
Kind of ask you about that. I'd say the times you were most upset tonight seemed to be on the.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Times you were most upset tonight seemed to be on a few of those kind of sillier turnovers. I mean, is that kind of what you are hammering in this series?
Yeah.
That is, if it's a clean game, it's. You guys have the advantage.
Yeah, it's they're the best team in the league in the possession game. They got 11 more shots than we did tonight as a result of all those offensive boards. Now we're going to turn them over too, and our defense is excellent. I mean, we just held a hell of a team to 85 points on their home floor. So our defense is big time, and we're going to count on that. But we've got to recognize that we don't need to take chances in this series. We need to be clean with our execution and transition. We don't need to dribble through traffic. We don't need to throw lob passes, to try to get a dunk. We've got to be rock solid. And if we're smart and tough, then I think we're going to be in good shape.
What do you think about the way that Steph handled Houston's defense, missed his first 3 shots?
That was incredible.
What got him going, you think?
He was incredible. And, with that type of pressure on him from Thompson and others, he just made some amazing plays and obviously carried us offensively along with Jimmy.
Brandon, Jimmy, and Draymond grabbed offensive rebounds in the last 3 minutes. What changed, or was there something they did differently in those last 3 minutes, or was it just effort?
No, just effort. BP had one where he snuck in and put it back on the glass, and then Draymond ended up with it and laying it in. That was a huge play. We've been a really good offensive rebounding team all year. So we'll get more. We only had 6. I think that's low for us. I think we'll get more next game. Scott?
Sorry. 85 points to the number 2 seed you guys gave up. If you had to explain that to a complete idiot, how would you break that down, essentially, that what you guys did?
Are you talking about yourself? Or?
Yes, I am.
Well, it's they're not a typical modern NBA team, and I think in terms of spreading you out, playing fast, shooting a million threes, they're kind of old school. In many ways, they're in the image of their coach. Ime was a grinder as a player. He was tough and physical, and that's what Houston is. And in this series, you can see they know where their advantage lies, and it's playing Adams a lot, sometimes playing him with Şengün, having everybody crash. So it felt like 1997 out there to me. Completely different NBA game than what we're used to, and we've got to be ready for that.